Now, every time I am in nature, every time I observe something, I see parallels. And honestly, there was like irony in this knowledge discovery about gut microbiome that I found. Let me explain. Let's talk about gut microbiome. What it is, what it does. I mean, like in the past years, you have probably by now have heard about gut microbiome, good bugs, bad bugs in your gut, probiotics, prebiotics, postbiotics that are now available on the market, and there are podcasts and books and a whole bunch of information that is available right now. Okay, so microbiome. And it's not about just good guys and bad guys, but it's all about the community, right? It's a whole of these microorganisms, the bacteria, the yeast, the fungi, viruses, a combination of them, a diversity of them, actually trillions of them that are mostly inhabiting our gastrointestinal tract, but are also found like on the skin, in the nose, in the mouth. We knew about the, oral microbiome for a long time. At least dentists did. That's why we go for cleanings. That's why we tell kids not to eat sugar because of the bad bacteria in our mouth. And there is also bacteria in the genital areas. If you ever had bacterial vaginosis, yes, you know that that's not something you can ignore for a long time. It's very uncomfortable. But gut microbiome. So I remember when I learned about it a few years back, I've been doing my research to figure out what was causing all the mysterious symptoms that I've been dealing with that were very a combination of different ones that conventional medicine did not have answers about. And here are these TED Talks about gut microbiome and studies, and I think even like a documentary that I watched. And I just got addicted, and I just wanted to find as much information on gut microbiome as I could, because I thought that it was the most fascinating and mind-blowing thing ever. Because guess what? You're never alone now. Now you know that you have these little friends, microbiome, that actually is important for us humans. It's important for our health. And that we're in this symbiotic, mutually benefiting relationship. And it was like a piece of the puzzle that was missing for me. Because all of a sudden, like, I understood, I could see, okay, now I see that what is going on here in my body is what I can observe in nature. I mean, let's take forest, for example. The trees and the mycelium, the fungi and the bacteria that are making nutrients available for trees and plants that they wouldn't be able to do on their own. They are in this same symbiotic relationship. And you can see that everywhere. And, in the past 20 years, because I think the term microbiome, when it all came together, not that it was discovered in 2001, but the term I think came around 2001. So it's been 20 plus years. In the science terms, I think this is infancy. We're just scratching the surface of understanding gut microbiome. But they were doing a lot of research. There was, I think, the Human Gut Microbiome Project, and they found a lot of interesting things. So what they discovered is that, of course, gut microbiota, they're important for production of a lot of things that are key to functions in our body, for gut health, for the function of mitochondria. So they're producing short chain fatty acids, postbiotics. It's like the bacteria poop You feed them, this is what they produce. But that bacteria poop, the postbiotics, turns out it's like gold for us humans. It's so important. And they also found that there is this like bidirectional brain-gut axis where your brain and your gut are constantly communicating. Turns out when we thought that we were at the helm of our ship, we're in command of our body, turns out not quite. It turns out that this gut microbiome, the bacteria, actually having quite significant impact on our gut health or on our mental health, because 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut, and serotonin is not only like for feeling good. Serotonin also has other uses in the gut for immune function, other things, but they're very much involved in our mental health, and they found actually a link that when gut microbiota are compromised, which can happen after several rounds of antibiotics, there is a direct link to depression. And also, your gut microbiome can affect your cravings. I mean, all of it is just so fascinating. And when I say like, it's not only about like good guys and bad guys, because like I think like, it's a very simplistic way of saying it, right? Because sometimes like you think, oh, bad guys, kill them off. Well, no, it's actually about the diversity, and this is what they found. And another example from nature that we know, that's a very popular one, is that when the wolves were exterminated from the Yellowstone National Park, and how that caused a downstream, like a domino of effects that impacted the environment, and then they were reintroduced back. So it's all about that balance and flow, the competition, keeping each other in check. And the same things that we observe in nature, like, we know that the resilience and health of any ecosystem is often measured by its diversity. And so they found the same about our gut microbiome. So if you want to have that very good, resilient immune system and health, and you want to have a diverse microbiome. And in order to have a diverse microbiome, well, you need to have a diverse kind of diet so that you can feed different kinds of bugs that love different kinds of foods, mostly fiber from plants. And so all of this amazing findings that are just so fascinating. And to me, it just was like, I mentioned, like, it was like connecting the dots. Because like now, every time I am in nature, every time I observe something, I see parallels. And honestly, there was like irony in this knowledge discovery about gut microbiome that I found. Let me explain. So if you look at the history of human species, I see this ecosystem where we as humans, we thought that we're the smartest, dominant, we're in charge, and everything else here on this planet is to serve us. And we've done some things, some of our accomplishments, some of our inventions were quite harmful because, we learn from our mistakes, and I hope that we will keep learning from our mistakes. And now what we're facing is that we, in this chase of making our own lives easier, more convenient, we have invented a lot of things. Preservatives to make food more stable. That's good for business, I remember when I came to the United States in my 20s, from Europe, I thought that, as a student, I thought that the bread that doesn't spoil for a long time was the coolest thing, because in Europe, it spoils pretty quickly unless you freeze it. And, well, as I learned later, that was not so cool of a thing. those are preservatives. So what do you think those kind of preservatives and additives are doing to this bacteria that are supposed to break down the food that we're eating and make it bioavailable for us? And same goes for other things that we're doing. You know, for agriculture, I get it. For farmers, it's very convenient to be spraying glyphosate, Roundup, on crops, or using it as a desiccant. It's convenience, but it's killing our soil and it's damaging our guts. So a lot of the things that we've done are actually the things that end up hurting ourselves. So that's the irony of all of it. Now, look where a lot of us are dealing with autoimmunity. It's essentially like your immune system is going rogue and it's now starting to attack what it was supposed to protect. And we're all dealing with some form of fatigue. I've dealt with fatigue. It's so debilitating. And so we're tired, our brains are not functioning very well, and we're dealing with digestive issues, all kind of health issues that a lot of us just accepted and think that maybe this is our fate, this is how we're supposed to live. But I think this discovery about gut microbiome, it just shows us how we're all interconnected, you know. And so the big thing for me was just imagining and seeing this ecosystem, you know, where human species were not at the helm, at the top, dominating everybody else, but very much intertwined and interconnected with all the other natural world around us. And I believe, and I have hope that now that we perhaps start understanding that, you know, we have to take care of our gut microbiome. We have to become good stewards. We also will become, consequently, good stewards of this planet, of our environment. We will start caring about the soil. We'll start caring about regenerative farming. We'll reconnect again with our food. We'll reconnect again with nature. Because you know what's important for gut microbiome? Food's as close to its original state. And you've heard it a lot by now. Do not eat those processed foods. Read the labels. When you go to the store, if you see a long label with the words that you don't understand what they are, that's not the food that you want to buy. You know, staying away from all those additives and synthetic dyes. And also, you know, limiting all those things that can cause inflammation in the body. Too much sugar, you know, spikes in insulin. That high insulin is inflammatory. And all the inflammation is going to also hurt your gut microbiome. And then also not buying things that were, you know, sprayed with glyphosate. Caring about what kind of animal produce you consume, what kind of life they had, what kind of food they ate. And so, if possible, buying from and supporting regenerative farms. And so on. So, all of a sudden, as we learn about this gut microbiome, I think it just like opened, at least for me, and I hope for you, this bigger picture of interconnectedness of all the things. And I think that's the true beauty for me about learning about gut microbiome.